life.
All right, now if Judge Gorsuch is confirmed and does become the 9th justice on the U.S. Supreme Court, he will hear some of the toughest cases in the country. We've asked attorney Byron Henry to come in this morning and talk a little bit more about this judge. First of all, Byron, glad you're here. You have a background in constitutional law. You've taken a look at Judge Gorsuch's history. So let's talk a little bit. What do we know about his decisions on the bench so far?
Well, you're probably going to hear that he's most famous for ruling in favor of those who objected to providing contraceptive coverage under Obamacare. And he also ruled for Little Sisters of the Poor, some nuns who also objected. That decision, of course, was affirmed 5-4 by the Supreme Court in the Hobby Lobby case. So that's probably the most noteworthy decision that he's made. But what you really get with Judge Gorsuch is a deliberative approach, a lot along the same lines as Justice Antonin Scalia, the justice that he's going to replace. Exactly,
the man who he called the lion of the law. One of the biggest constitutional debates happening in the nation right now is, of course, the president's travel ban on immigration. We've already seen this lawsuits being filed over this issue. Could this potentially be something that Judge Gorsuch will have to rule on if he gets confirmed to serve on the Supreme Court?
Well, certainly the constitutionality or lawfulness of executive orders on immigration would be something that could eventually reach the Supreme Court. And of course, you have the immigration decision by President Obama in his executive action that is currently in the courts. We don't know if that will stay in the courts because executive orders are subject to be changed by a new president. But this is the kind of thing that he could hear, but I suspect because the executive order is temporary, by the time it would reach the Supreme Court, I'm not sure there would be a dispute to resolve. But yes, it's exactly the kind of case that could make its way all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States.
All right, you have been taking a look at President Trump's potential picks for Supreme Court justice, even when he was running as a candidate. How much did it surprise you that he went with Judge Gorsuch, if it surprised you at all?
Well, because a lot of things with President Trump, both the candidate and now president, are surprising, you never can be too sure. But Neil Gorsuch was always near the top of the list with respect to those court watchers, and he was always what I guess you would consider a favorite, not just because he clerked at the Supreme Court, he has an impeccable pedigree, he also reveres Justice Scalia, the justice he's going to replace, but also because he's a great writer, he brings a wit to the law, and he hails from the West, the Colorado, which is something that would bring some diversity to the court with respect to geography. So a lot of people have had their eye on Judge Gorsuch for a long time, and he's only 49 years old, so he's an up-and-coming star.
And if he's confirmed, he would serve for decades. All right. Well, Judge Gorsuch will have a lot more eyes on him, Byron, as the process starts. Thanks so much for coming in and giving us some insights.
My pleasure.
Fascinating stuff. Going to be interesting to watch.